Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. I had to have my front door painted this week, and that means it needs to stand open for a while to dry and see it doesn't stick to the siding and everything. Man, did it let the stink bugs into my house. They were just waiting at the door to try and get in. I had to play doorman. If you don't want to play doorman, standing there like a madman, waving to keep stink bugs out of your house, ladybugs out of your house, box elder beetles out of your house, call Southeast Termite and Pest Control and get their fall invader treatment. As long as you don't leave the door open, that helps. But also, the fall invader treatment, I do it every year, and it is well worth it. The first year I did it, I thought, well, we'll see if this makes a difference. I swear by it, and I'm telling you to swear by it. It's very good. You won't have anywhere near the problem with those little fall invaders if you get the fall invader treatment from Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right. Tennessee's defense allowed just 13 points to Virginia, but the Cavaliers are now 0-5. They allowed 13 points to Austin Peay, but they're FCS. They gave up 14 points to Texas San Antonio, but their star quarterback was out. So there's a lot of caveats with that defense. In SEC play, they've given up 29 to Florida, so you're thinking, is this defense really taking a step forward? Last night, they looked like they were taking a step forward. Granted, South Carolina doesn't have a great offensive line, but you made the great point. Rattler's been tearing people up despite that. He didn't tear up Tennessee. Nope. So my question, moving forward, do we now trust Tennessee's defense? If Tennessee doesn't score 30, and we showed you the numbers earlier, it's like, well, you got to get to 30, got to get to 30. Mm-hmm. Do you now trust Tennessee's defense if the offense doesn't get to 30, that you're going to be a good upper-tier SEC team?
My first thought was no. And then I looked at the schedule, and I don't think the offenses they're playing are all that good. And I also think, for example, Alabama would come to mind. You're on the road, right?
Yep.
But Milroe is not going to throw for 400 yards like Bryce Young could do. So when I think about that, there's probably going to be one exception, but I think maybe one team will get to 30, but the rest of them, I don't think the rest of the teams get to 30.
I don't think Mark Stoops tries to get to 30 at Kentucky.
Correct, unless he's running against Florida somehow.
But just plays it close to the vest, yeah.
Right. So looking at the opponents that they're playing, Georgia's struggling. They're relatively speaking.
Missouri doesn't scare you.
No, so I'm gonna say yes. Now, does that mean nobody's gonna get 30? No, but I do trust this defense. I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
I'm mixed a little bit here because I trust the defensive front and the defensive line. If you're running game in pass rush right now, I think they're as good as anybody in the SEC. I'm still seeing a secondary, and I have a Florida game in my memory of guys bouncing off and flying different directions and not being able to tackle. So when I take that into perspective, I go, compare me Florida and South Carolina. Which team is it in the secondary? That's where I get concerned and go, I'm not all there yet because I don't know which team it actually is.
I also got a little spooked when Aaron Beasley went out of that game. Like, you cannot afford to lose Aaron Beasley.
He went out one play, and then they scored on a 6-yard run.
Yeah, exactly. If you lose Aaron Beasley, I lose a lot of faith in this defense. Kevin, what are you thinking on the defense? Do you trust them now to be good enough to get Tennessee where they want to go?
I think it's easy to trust them more than what we had previously. The thing I was really excited about was a change in personality. So we played more split safety. We didn't pressure as much, and still found ways to win the game. It's part of the reason why we kept Xavier Legette in check. It's part of the reason why Spencer Rattler didn't have many places to go with the football. So that part I like, because that's really one of the first times that I've seen that we've kind of changed from a philosophy standpoint. Instead of playing more middle field safety and blitzing a bunch, playing split safety and making it tough to throw. So that was exciting. Obviously, you see us dominate the way that we did on the defensive front. But I guess from my standpoint, that was the worst offensive line situation we've seen this season, and it's the worst offensive line situation we'll see from here on out. So I trust them more, but I think I kind of see them as the offense like. Week by week, they play a little bit better, play more cohesive, because it's 11 equals 1, whether you're on the offense or the defense.
Bob, you and I did radio on Monday, and you said this game is going to come down to the pass rush, and I said, look, that's important, I get it, but Tennessee is always going to be about the offense. I don't know that I trust this defense to consistently, you're going to win with defense. So they went out and won with defense. So congratulations, you were right. Do you trust them to win this way the rest of the way?
You know, I've taken a step forward that I do, but not because of the defensive line or the linebackers, which I think are pretty good. But last night, you did not have big busts in your secondary, which has sort of been a problem with this defense. And sitting there in the stadium, it's hard to keep up. But there were times you could see they were playing zone, and they'd change up and throw a little man in there. And they had no coverage busts. I told John one time I saw a guy getting open, Tennessee DB tackled him. There was no flag on the play. If it'd been the other way, the stadium would have been screaming bloody murder. But other than that one guy that was getting ready to break pretty open, that was the thing that impressed me. The pass rush was great. Your run defense was good except for one play. But you did not let guys open. So if that is something to watch going forward, then that really elevates your defense.
Here's the thing, too, from my perspective. So I'm more in the trust category. But from week to week, you don't know who's going to show
right.
up, what team. That
Anywhere.
That's cause for concern for Tennessee and everybody, right?
Yeah.
The Florida team that beat Tennessee wasn't the same Florida team that went to Kentucky and got their butt beat.
And the Kentucky team that barely escaped Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, so with that caveat, I still trust this defense. I don't know if they necessarily found something in the secondary, but I think their front seven is really good.
All right, very good.
Which makes your secondary look better.
I also thought you compare the tackling you saw last night versus the tackling you saw against Florida, it was night and day. You know, we said that after the Virginia game. Wow, they tackled better. If you get that all year, all right, well, we've seen it twice. We've missed it once. So are you going to get that against Texas A&M? We'll get into that a little bit later in this show. When we come back, we're going to talk about Texas A&M. We're going to talk about home field advantage. And Josh Ward, hey, look, you look at Tennessee, everybody freaked out after the Florida loss. You're still right there in the SEC East race, and Georgia does not look like they're going to be invincible this year. So let's take a look at the SEC East race with Josh Ward next. Come on back on the Sports Show.